All right. Welcome again, everyone. We are so glad you're here, whether you're here joining us in the Zoom room or if you are joining via our Facebook Live event. We are so excited that you have chosen to take the next little bit and spend some time with us this evening. We are going to do some introductions here in just a moment and give you a brief overview of what SC Codes is, who we are, why we exist, and what resources we have available for learners such as yourselves on our platform. So what I'll do is I will pass it. Well, I guess I'll start. I'm Katie. I am the program director, and I'll be walking you through here in just a few minutes the overview. And then I'm going to go ahead and have Morgan introduce herself, and then Alex, and then Caleb.
Sure, thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan, and I am the volunteer and community coordinator here with SC Code. So I work with volunteer mentors, so professional software developers who lend time to our learners and support our platform in that way. So I'm going to be chatting with you a little bit later about how they support our program and echo Katie in being glad that you're here.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. I'm Alex. I'm the technical lead for SC Code, which means I handle some of our online platform and some of our curriculum and mentorship. Super glad you're here. Super excited to answer questions. I love having a smaller group like this that we can really talk to kind of one-on-one. So stick around.
Hey everyone, I'm Caleb. I'm a software developer in Greenville, and I am a mentor and curriculum consultant. So I'm just kind of helping out with whatever needs done around here. But super excited everyone's here, and I will turn it back over to Katie.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We have a really amazing team. We're a small team, but we are very, very powerful. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in just a moment, and we'll just go through who the heck we are and what we do. So hang on one second. All righty. Can I get a thumbs up, Alex, if you can see my screen? Beautiful. All right, great. Awesome. So we're going to start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. And we are going to talk about what is coding. So if you are brand new to this field, to this technology, and you're really just here to figure out what even is this whole SC Codes thing about, this is the best place to start. So coding is essentially telling a computer what you want it to do, essentially in their language. It's the easiest way to kind of put it. So there are many different coding languages, JavaScript, Java, Ruby, Python. The list goes on. And we offer several of these on our platform. And so in a few minutes, I'm going to let Alex and Caleb dive a little bit more into those specific languages. But essentially, they all do similar things. And so as you're out in the world, you may hear, here we go, you may hear any of these numerous titles. So these are, for the most part, fairly interchangeable. But as you are, maybe doing your research and saying like, hey, is this a field that has some potential, that has, is in demand here in South Carolina, or maybe you want to move elsewhere. When you're kind of looking at Indeed or any of those job boards, these are a lot of the different variations that you will see. But basically, at the end of the day, these all require coding skills in order to perform these specific jobs. So, and many of them are pretty much exactly the same. So like programmer, developer, software engineer, like those are pretty much interchangeable as you come across them. All right, so what is SC Codes? So we are a collaboration powered by the South Carolina Department of Commerce's Office of Innovation and Build Carolina, who is our parent nonprofit. And we are a platform that is built with the sole purpose of connecting South Carolinians to the education and resources they need to unlock careers in technology. And we do it all for free. And so we offer free online curriculum. That's, of course, the main resource that we have to offer each and every one of our learners. But we also have an amazing mentorship program, which I'm going to have Morgan go into more detail in a few moments about that as well. But we have people, like real life people here to help you throughout your learning journey. And so when you get stuck with a technical question, or if you don't even know really where to begin, or what the job market looks like, or what jobs are out there, and how do you land that, first interview, all of those things are questions that our mentors can help you with. And so we're going to go into a few ways of how you can connect with mentors in a few moments when Morgan takes over, but more on that to come. And so other things that we offer are virtual and in-person classes. Virtual classes look a lot like this. We do them via Zoom, and they are anywhere from, we do like a 3-hour, 1-night course to a cohort style where you join us 1 hour a week for 6 weeks, and we get you through one of these heavier classes. And so we host those monthly, and we are always adding to that. So Caleb just taught Ruby concepts for the first time virtually just a couple weeks ago, and we're really excited about that. So, and then luckily, now that COVID has let up a little bit, we're actually getting ready to return to some in-person classes. And so we have site partners throughout the state. Most of these are library systems or recreation centers, basically anywhere that has some computers and will let us come in and teach these classes. And so we've got I think we're up to maybe 25 plus partners throughout the state. And so be sure to check on our website and see if there's a site partner that is near you, so that when we begin to go back to in-person, if you would like that experience, we will be able to get you connected. We also offer career support that comes from the team as well as the mentors. So if you are in a place where you really you have the skills and you just don't know how to take that next step, we're here to help. And we're actually have some formalized curriculum around that coming very soon. And then we have amazing events, including guest lectures. And again, that's more Morgan's thing, so I'm going to leave that for her to talk about again in a moment. But we always have something going on here at SC Codes. And so why do we exist? Why are we a nonprofit? Why is this available? Like, why are we here? We are here because tech is booming in our state and really everywhere. So according to CompTIA, in South Carolina, tech makes up 6% of our state's economy, which doesn't sound like much at a glance, but is actually a total economic impact of $89 billion. In 2020, mind you, in the midst of a pandemic, there were over 29,000 tech jobs posted here in our state during 2020. And programmer was that leading occupation category. Currently, as of like 5 o'clock today, there were 599 open software engineer jobs in South Carolina, and with 382 of those being entry to mid-level. There are over 130,000 individuals currently employed in tech in our state. And we have a projected growth of over 3,734 more jobs coming this year. And this one's always one of my favorite things to talk about is the annual mean wage in South Carolina is $73,508 for those working in tech in our state. So I think the state average is 45 and some change. So this is a very high demand, high growth, high paying field to go into. So at the end of the day, to put it short and sweetly, we need your talent. The tech industry here in our state needs your talent. There are way more jobs than skilled people to fill them in South Carolina. Luckily, you don't have to have a college degree for the majority of jobs within this field. And even if you did, there are only, I think, a couple hundred computer science graduates in our state in any given year. So it's their way, as you can see on that last slide, way more jobs than we have people entering the workforce with any type of education in software development. So additionally, as remote work has become the new normal, you're no longer limited to your city or state or even your country. And so while we of course want you to stay and work for South Carolina companies, you are not limited by any means. All right, and so just as a quick recap, our mission is that we want to be a supportive, mentor-led learning community for anyone interested in learning to code. Excuse me. And learning to code, skilling up, or working as a professional programmer in South Carolina. And so the biggest piece of that is that mentor-led. And so I am now going to pass it over to Morgan. I'm going to skip ahead to her slide. We will definitely talk about Slack in just a moment, but I think this is a better place to start. So Morgan, if you want to go ahead and take over, I'll leave my screen share going.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Katie. So as Katie mentioned, we have professional mentors, mentors on our platform who are professional software developers who are here to help you. So these are folks who are working in the field who are excited about sharing their knowledge with you. You can be paired with them by reaching out to me, filling out a form on our website that, hey, I am going through these courses and I need some additional help, or hey, I have a question about a career change and I'd like to chat with someone, or hey, I am towards the end of my journey with SC Codes and I've put together a portfolio and I would love for some review on that portfolio. So these folks are really there to help you through the continuum of your experience with SC Codes. They are, again, flexible, easy to request through me. They support us in our Slack channel. So they are hanging out in Slack, ready to answer questions. And they're also available to you as more of a personal relationship as well. So you can set up times to meet with them individually as often or as little as you would like. So my job really is to pair you with them to get them excited. Well, they're already excited, but to get them connected with what your needs are. So chatting with me and letting me know what it is that you need support with is really that first step. And then I will get in contact with them and we'll start that relationship. But it really is a very simple way to get additional help once you're on the SC Codes platform. So I would love to chat with you if you are at the end of this presentation and you're like, I'm ready to go with SC Codes, but I'd like a little bit more help. Let's talk and I'll be happy to pair you with someone to help hold your hand a little bit on that journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. And if you'll also talk a little bit about the webinars and different things that we have coming up.
Sure. So one part of what the mentor role is supporting in like extracurricular, I guess you could call them, topics and activities. So if you look at our events page, you can see where we have several talks that happen throughout the month. So whether it is a special topic, so African Americans in tech or women in tech, or if it's a special language that we're focusing on, Elixir or Python, we have mentors who come and give those talks as well. We also have a new series that we've started called Ask a Developer. So every month we highlight a mentor across our platform, and there's some really cool folks who participate in that Ask a Developer series. So we just, sorry, my child is like screaming in the background. We just take about 45 minutes midday and just chat with those developers on what it is that their day-to-day is like. And it's a great time for you to come in, ask questions, and really get to know some folks in the field, as well as get any of your questions answered.
Awesome. Thanks again, Morgan. And you never have to apologize for your adorable child screaming in the background. I'm sure, but I didn't even hear it, but I'm sure us all probably having been working remotely for the last year at least, we are all used to that. So no worries there. So I'm going to backtrack one slide and just talk about Slack. So If you have joined us for any other events, or if you have ventured onto our courses or anywhere on social media, you have probably seen us talking about Slack. So if you are not familiar with Slack, Slack is a very simple messaging app that is completely free and that we here at SC Codes use for the majority of our communication, whether that be amongst team members or with our learners and with our mentors. So we have some amazing content on there already. This is a wonderful place to ask for help, whether you have a coding question, or we have a career help channel that I am constantly posting job entry level, junior level job postings in, or tips and tricks for that resume. And we have mentors providing just really fantastic insight there very frequently. We have courses that are specific to we have channels that are specific to your area. We have channels that are specific to the courses that you may take on our platform. And while it can look very overwhelming, just kind of at a glance with all of those different things there on the left side of that Slack screen, it's actually very, very simple to use. And you by no means need to join every single one of those channels. You can definitely pick and choose. So this is also a great way to reach out to Morgan to request a mentor, or to reach out to me if you have a question about something that's coming up on our event calendar, or if you have a technical question for any of the mentors. This is just a great place to be. And we also just like to have fun on there too. So like, let's start a conversation, like let's make it a fun place. We're very casual, laid back, we're very passionate and very serious about what we do, but we have a lot of fun doing it. So join us please on Slack. I'm sure Alex has thrown, or Caleb has thrown, yep, Alex has thrown it in the chat. So click that, come on over and join in the conversation. All right. And so I am now going to pass it over to Alex or Caleb, whoever wants to go first. And they're going to talk a little bit more about the platform itself. And yeah, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. So yeah, the platform, we keep saying this like fancy P word, right? Platform. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you what we mean. And this is the kind of meat and potatoes of what we offer. Generally folks who come to SC Codes are here to learn something. You may be learning about jobs, which you could do in Slack. You may be learning about mentorship, which you could do through Morgan, but you're probably trying to learn something about code. And that's why we offer our platform. And that platform starts at, as you would guess, sccodes.org. That's where our website is. Now from the site, you can go to courses, and that'll take you, it takes a second to load, so I'm just gonna click the tab here. That'll take you right over to our course library. And now, as Katie said, we cover lots of different languages, and this catalog is constantly evolving and changing. We've got some really cool plans for later this year. But at a really high level view, the big things that we cover here are taking you from, I don't know anything about programming, to I can build real world applications and I can get my first job. And that's kind of the path that we want to set you on. So the way we do that is by starting with 3 levels of courses. Now I'm going to talk about our course levels, and I'm going to pass off to Caleb to talk about some of our content, the types of languages and pathways that we offer. In terms of levels, we start with concepts courses. And a concepts course should take you maybe a few hours to complete, even if you have no programming experience at all. These are our entry-level, really basic courses. We'll explain to you the foundations of programming. We'll teach you a little bit about one particular language. So maybe Ruby in the Ruby Concepts course, or maybe Java in the Java Concepts course. And then we'll walk you through a really simple project. So by the end of that course, you will have built something. And you can say, hey, I can solve problems, I understand the basics, and now I can either go forward with that language or I can try another one. That takes us to our basics courses. So if you're interested in Ruby Concepts and you complete that and you want to keep going with Ruby, you might go to Ruby Basics. And our basics level courses take more like maybe a week or 2 to complete. If you're really taking your time and getting a lot of support, these could take up to a couple months to finish. But basics classes go a little more in depth. They're going to take you down past just programming fundamentals and into the fundamentals of a particular programming language. And remember, each language has little quirks and things that make it better for certain applications. You're going to learn what those quirks are in a basics course. And by the end of a basics class, you'll have, again, a project completed. So you will have built something In some of our courses, like our front-end basics courses, you'll have built a few things. But by the end of it, you'll have some idea of more what it's like to build from scratch, to start with nothing and end up with a little simple website or application of your own. And finally, we have our applications level courses. Right now, this is React or Ruby on Rails. And our applications level courses go really in depth. These are going to take you at least a few weeks to complete, probably more like a few months with, half hour, an hour here and there in the evenings. But these classes are our job readiness courses. These are going to take you through really in-depth knowledge about these languages, popular frameworks and tool sets that you can wrap around the languages to make it easier to build things, and just some basic job readiness skills, really common patterns or practices that you'll see when you get into a junior role or an apprenticeship. So these are kind of our big level courses. We don't recommend applications courses for beginners, but if you got some experience, they're a great thing to jump into. And if you know you're on a career track, applications courses are a great place to take a look at and really polish your skills before you start filling out those applications and working on your resume. Caleb, would you like to talk about some of our content types here?
Absolutely. So a lot of people come to us at SE Codes and they might say, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what path I should follow. And, Katie listed out a bunch of different job titles and everything's just very confusing. Where do I begin? Where do I go? So recently we have developed what we're calling our front end and back end certification pathways. And these integrate the kind of levels of courses that Alex just talked about. And these will take you through kind of starting from scratch on the front end and the back end. And you might say, what is the front end and the back end? I like to think of it as front end programming is the visual side of programming. It's what you're seeing on the website right now. And the back end of programming is kind of the data management and data storage aspect of programming. So from a 50,000 foot view, that's kind of front end and back end. But if we click into the front end certification pathway, you will see that we start you off with JavaScript concepts. And that is that beginner level course where you don't have to have any experience coming in here. And we'll start you from zero. And then we move you on to the front end basics course, teach you a little bit more. And then finally, we'll end you off with the React applications course. So this is a very direct and guided pathway for getting from zero to job ready or internship ready.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for walking us through the platform. If anybody has any questions specifically about this while we still have Alex's screen shared, please feel free to throw it in the chat or to unmute yourself and ask your question, and we can walk you through it. Otherwise, I just want to give Byron a shout out because he immediately joined Slack and is already in the career help channel. So bravo, Byron. All right. Well, if questions come up, please let us know. At any point, we can always reshare screen and walk you around. So wonderful. I am keeping an eye on our Facebook comments as well if any questions roll in. But does anyone have any specific questions about really anything about SE Codes, about tech in South Carolina, about employers? I mean, really anything tech related, we are happy to address.
Folks, I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
this
can.
is Mike. Okay, cool. My screen name for some reason is Felix the Cat, but I'm actually Mike, and I've been here before. And I am currently finishing up the Google IT Support Specialist certification program. And this has been a very dense program, and I've learned a tremendous lot. The one thing, though, that remains head scratcher for me is I feel like to be on the path to being a complete like Renaissance Man. Where do you recommend I start it? It seems like it would be extremely useful for me to have programming, even if I'm not, a developer or programming all the time. It seems like it would be very useful for me to at least have some working knowledge of programming. And my question is, knowing the resources that SE Codes has, where do y'all recommend I start? What would be, what would be my best path into getting something useful in my portfolio?
Great question. I'm going to pass it to, well, Alex, I saw you unmute, so why don't you go ahead and answer that?
Uh-oh, I might have claimed that one. Yeah, welcome back, Mike. I think I remember one of the sessions you were here with us, so we're glad to have you back. And that is a really good question. That's a question a lot of people have, regardless of whether they're coming from Google's IT support specialist program or they're coming from, a totally different job or totally different path. So you said something that really specific there that I'm going to key in on, and that's portfolio. And that's something we'll talk about a lot as you look at getting a job or an apprenticeship, is having a body of work that you can share. Now, Caleb mentioned front end and back end, and it's important to remember front end is really visual, back end is really data driven. If you know that you're interested in doing data driven work, we have our back end certification pathway, and that's a great way to really dive into those numbers and tables and databases and all the things that really make the web tick and make things work. But it's not as visually compelling. And so if you're not going into data-driven work, that can be kind of a tough thing to sell. It's very, it's not mathematical. A lot of people think it's really math, and it's not really math. There's just not a lot of cool stuff to show. It's a lot of white text on black backgrounds that you're really proud of. Alternatively, front end is a much more creative venue. It's visual, you have lots more color and interaction with users. So if you're interested, as I think I remember you might be, in a more creative pathway, that front end path may be the best option for you. So that would start you with JavaScript concepts, take you through front end basics where we bring in a couple new languages and really, fill out your web skills. And then finally take you to React applications where you apply those skills to really interactive apps that people can use and that you get good at just really writing over and over the same kinds of programs. The nice thing about the front end pathway is you will have portfolio projects. There are things that you could even print out and show somebody a print off of and say, hey, look, I made this design, I made this layout. And that's just something that's a little more difficult with the data side. So the path that you're on there is important, but I would say either of those front end or back end paths could work for you there, depending on what your end goal is.
Awesome. And we do host regularly every month, typically a one night kind of deep dive, but very entry level course on JavaScript. So that front end beginner level course, JavaScript concepts, we offer virtually right here at least once a month. And then we're also just adding Ruby concepts. So I know that's the back end side of things, but if you want to kind of like try them both out and see what you like best, we have those coming up. And so keep an eye on our event calendar, and we will, and if you're on our email list, hopefully we can make sure to get that information out there to you. Great. And then Garrett has a question. He says, I had a question about screen readers whenever it's convenient, no rush. So yeah, go ahead. If you want to unmute yourself or type it in there, Garrett, we're happy to answer that if we can.
Okay. Good evening, ma'am. Are y'all able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Garrett Mosley, and I've been JAWS certified since 2017. I teach it, and so I have to get certified every year. And JAWS is basically one of the most popular screen readers that visually impaired people use to read the internet. My question is that just trying to understand, I noticed like even big companies often have problems making sure their products are screen reader friendly. And I don't know, I wonder what's the biggest headache when it comes to screen readers, if y'all have had any experience with that or anything.
Yeah, I can hop in here. I worked at a Fortune 500 company as my first job in tech, and we had to support, I believe it was 509 compliance. There's some kind of national regulation where we had to support that. And it can be very challenging. I believe we did some JAWS stuff there, but yeah, it can be very challenging because you're essentially relying on a computer to read human language for you, which can be very difficult. And then, combined with that, the fast-paced nature of technology in general, and then screen reader technology, trying to keep up with that, it can get real messy. It's definitely possible, and it's something that we at SC Codes try to work into our content to try and be as accessible as possible, especially on our front end courses, to try and teach people semantic HTML right off the bat, and try and spread the good news of accessibility.
Thanks, Caleb. And actually, from a company standpoint, our website actually needs a lot of work on the accessibility side of things, because these fellas here did not build it. But it's definitely one of those things where if you don't build the sites and applications with that at the forefront of your mind, then it's going to cause lots of issues and redoing some things down the road, which is what we're kind of part of what we're in the process of doing here over the next year. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. That did help a lot because I know I noticed that everybody's trying to stay at the peak of what's happening, and I think that makes a lot of sense. That naturally they're trying to do visually aesthetic stuff for customers, and so it's easy for things to fall. But that's no problem because I totally understand. And if y'all ever have any questions or anything about screen readers, I'd be glad to answer any questions or help in any way too.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah,
Alex,
I was gonna throw that question out to you, Garrett. I think that's awesome. It's super cool that you're teaching JAWS. I'm working with a team right now that is using VoiceOver exclusively, and we're trying to convince a client to get JAWS, and I think it's NVDA is the competitor there.
Yes,
Some certification, some accessibility, what's the word I want, audits around that. But we could definitely use as many people as we can, as part of our community. And if that's something you'd be willing to maybe run a webinar on or hop in on sometime, I'd love it if you connect with Katie and or Morgan and see if that's something that we could kind of work together on, because I know we can all learn more about that all the time. That is a constantly evolving industry, so that's great work.
Okay, I'll join y'all's Slack and say something in the chat on there so we can stay connected if y'all.
perfect.
That's
Awesome.
Garrett, did I hear you correctly that you teach Java concepts? Is that what you said?
I teach JAWS.
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 Okay.
No, I actually
Morgan
did
is,
play-
sorry, I was going to say, Morgan's always got an ear out for anyone who can teach a class.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been playing with JavaScript and Notepad and like how I can write it straight in the Notepad and do stuff.
Excuse me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So great. And are you already a user on the platform, Garrett, or are you just joining us?
I signed up for the platform and I've clicked on the website some. I like y'all's website. I haven't went through the first lesson yet, but I do like the website and everything.
Cool. Well, we're glad you're here. And yeah, once you, or if you do start working through those and need any help, holler at us.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions. Awesome. Anybody else have questions while I'm checking our Facebook? No, nothing there. Or any other insights or takeaways that any of the team members want to share?
Well, how many, what's the percentage of Mac people that we know of? I use you know, the Mac is an aluminum box you do work on. PC is a black box you do work on. Right now, I'm on a laptop, a PC laptop. So I move. It depends on what I'm doing, what operating environment I'm in. So my question there is, if I want to use SC Code's resources, say any of the programming things that we've talked about, are there any issues in working through the Mac platform versus PC or Linux? Linux is another thing for that matter.
Yeah, that's a super good question, and definitely hotly debated online. In the broader programmer sphere, like the career track, I'd say the majority of people use Mac. That's not always a good thing. Unfortunately, that means because the majority of people who use computers in the world use Windows, that creates a little bit of a weird spread. Give me just one sec.
All the joys of working from home.
Dogs or cats around here.
Always close to my pets. It's good. It creates kind of an unfortunate spread in that Windows users are sometimes kind of treated as second-class citizens, or PC users, or Linux users for that matter. Our platform, something I feel really strongly about because I came up on Windows and use Mac now, is good for anybody. It's based in the browser. We do have some classes that ask you to install things, and we'll give you the commands to install that. For our front-end course, as of the last cohort we ran, you can run the entire course online. You don't ever have to install a single thing on your computer. You can go from concepts all the way up through applications, and everything is online for you. For our Ruby course, there's still a few asks, but we can help you with PC, Mac, Linux. If you're on a Chromebook, whatever platform you might be on, we can help support you there. None of our content is going to lock you out because you don't have a particular platform available.
Thanks.
Great question. One that comes up a lot. So yes, thank you for asking that. All right. Any other questions? We still have plenty of time, but won't keep you all tied up until 7, just for the heck of it. So if anybody has any other questions or anything else they'd like to share, please feel free to unmute or throw it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And another thing, so like we usually end up talking about this kind of organically through questions and things, but career transition is kind of a scary topic, can be, like where to start, what does it look like? And so luckily we have Alex and Caleb who are have both transitioned from very not coding careers. And so Caleb, do you want to share a little bit about your journey? And then Alex, you definitely have to share your background because it is crazy cool.
Yeah, I'm going to start with mine because I can't follow Alex. So I graduated from college in 2015 with a degree in business administration. And I've always been a computer user since I was a little kid, but it was mostly just, video games and stuff. But just found myself at a job that wasn't really going to provide for my family or and I just felt like I needed to go back to school for something. And around that time, I kind of got into coding and saw how cool it was and how fun it could be. So I actually went to one of the first iterations of an SC Codes cohort. And so I was a student long before I was a mentor or anything like that. But really enjoyed it, really learned a lot. And from there, I decided to go to a boot camp in Greenville, got a job in 2019 down in Charleston. So I've been in the industry now for coming up on 3 years. But I didn't get into tech until I was 25. 26. Well, one of those two. But like that is still really young for a career changer. So anyone can change careers at any point in time, as long as you just put your mind to it. If I can do it, you can do it too. But yeah, Alex.
Yeah, so I definitely had a non-traditional path. I started programming when I was really young as a hobby. So it was just something like kind of like Caleb said. I played a lot of games. My family were both in my mother and father were both in education. So I had access to like off-lease computers through school districts and computer labs and that kind of thing, and just sort of played. But my career path was actually in the medical field. I worked in forensic pathology for 17 years and really enjoyed that. Ended up going to medical school for a little while, and it turns out I didn't enjoy medical school. I didn't really want to own my own business or be a doctor. I just liked the work and the people. And so after I left medical school, I came back and continued with the job I'd had and kind of reevaluated. And my wife now, girlfriend at the time, suggested maybe somebody would pay me for this hobby that was growing in popularity. And so I kind of wasn't sure where my skill level was. I'd done some freelance work, but I went through a boot camp program as well. Went in as a TA and kind of taught and learned and worked with some really great people who influenced me really strongly towards the education side of things myself. And that was when I pivoted my career and switched over to working tech full-time. And that has paid off really well. I've been in the industry full-time professionally for 6 years, close to 7 years now. And the nice thing is this career is not tenure based. I think that can be tough to understand if you compare it to something like my family who's in education, right? You don't hear people getting into the education field and being really hungry and just going straight to the principal. It tends to be kind of a long path. In a technical career, you have a lot more control over how quickly do you want to ascend, what levels do you want to be at. If you're happy building things, you could build things for your whole career. If you would rather work with people, you can go in and get that technical knowledge and immediately start working with people and be in more of a management or project management role. There's lots of stuff available. And that has been one of the most fun things for me, is being able to come in and, even having done this for a few years, still learning new skills and learning new ways to apply different types of knowledge, which is just something I super enjoy. And that has been rewarding. Selfishly, personally, this question always comes up. It's very financially rewarding. It's a well-paying job across the board, but not only that, it's financially rewarding in how much you can control your life. So I work from home. I've worked completely from home for almost 3 years now, which is great because I don't have a commute. Sometimes my dog barks. That's kind of frustrating. Sometimes I can just bring her in the office if I'm having a bad day and she hangs out with me while I'm working. And so I get paid while getting to enjoy my family in my house. And that's really nice too. We can travel and we can work from other places. That's something a lot of careers don't afford. That tech, it's kind of table stakes now. Almost anybody will let you work remote. So there's a lot of really cool benefits compared to more traditional career paths that I didn't necessarily switch for, but I've really benefited from and enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing that. Alex, you did, or either you want to work from Disney. You did go down and work remote from Disney for a minute, for like a week.
I did. Silly goals, right? When I switched to tech and realized remote work was an option, I set some goals about weird places I wanted to work from, just to say, hey, I did it. I worked from somewhere. So there was a family vacation that my parents and my sister and my nieces all went on down to Disney a few years ago, and I wanted to work from a theme park. That was just a thing. So sure enough, while we went down to stay, we stayed in a hotel on Disney property, and I took my laptop into a park and worked in a little corner by the pizza place in MGM or Hollywood Studios, I guess, for an afternoon. And had a blast. It's very silly. It's kind of a dumb waste of your ticket if you're there with your family. But if you have time to yourself, it's kind of a fun, prestigious thing to say, like, hey, I worked from Disney for a day. And I was able to pay for my Disney trip while I was on the trip by working, being able to take my work with me. So yeah, it's pretty silly, but I'm still pretty proud of that one.
I love that story.
Katie, I think if you remember right,
wonderful.
The last info session I did from Cocoa Beach as well.
Yes, that's right.
I happened to be doing another kind of workcation like that, visiting some family and
Yeah.
Cocoa Beach, and I can hop on and meet with everybody awesome in South Carolina and check in. So
Not a bad gig, that's for sure. Wonderful. Great. Well, let's kind of do a call for any final questions, any final comments, anything, any burning questions that you just want to know about, really, truly anything tech related.
Well, I got a comment pretty much based on what I've heard as far as career transformation, because that was something that I was extremely nervous about. I'm 65 and I'm retired from I basically have been a creative professional for, the last 40 years, and I've worked in various parts of the entertainment industry. And, I was sort of retired, not on my terms, for medical reasons. So I was thinking, okay, what's a portable profession? Like Alex was talking about, it seems like it's a very portable profession, but also everybody I talk to say that it has its creative and fun aspects. Now, work is a 4-letter word. I'm sure that there is trudging through the mire, but I do get an impression from a lot of people that it's a unique field with unique challenges. So that's what drew me to it. And then I thought, okay, well, this is a field also where I'm unlikely to face ageism, which, let me tell you, folks, is a reality in this world, But the way I look at it now is all these silver hairs are wisdom. And that's, at this point, I'm not worried about that. That's actually something that I can sell with all the rest of my, whatever the attributes may be as I learn this profession. But yeah, that was when I found myself kind of out in the cold. I was very nervous. How am I going to make a living? What's where can I go? What can I do? And then I had the opportunity to take the Google IT course, and I said, okay, yeah, bring it, the scholarship. So that opened my mind a lot. So I don't know if there's anybody else on here who is 65 or older, but it definitely, I feel like I'm going to be able to keep my mind alive for quite some time.
Absolutely. I love that. And actually, we just sent out a survey recently. I'm pulling it up now, and just gathered a sample of like some demographic information. And I was pleasantly surprised how like varied the ages of our learners are. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly just because I thought it was fascinating. But we have many 65 and up on our platform, which is great, because you're right. There are some, tech is not perfect by any stretch, as far as, yes, the job can be very rewarding and very great, but there are definitely issues, like you said, with ageism and sexism and racism and all of those things. Unfortunately, because the majority of people who have stereotypically been in these positions are, young or young to middle-aged, white guys. And so trying to break those stereotypes by just keeping at it is really, really fantastic. So I definitely applaud you, and I applaud all of the learners on our platform, especially those who are, kind of doing it just because they want to continue contributing when they are retired, or, they don't want to retire, and they see the writing on the wall, and it's like, let's keep going. Let's keep doing it, because it's something you can do from anywhere, everywhere. And so you can still enjoy hanging out on your mountain home. I'm just kidding. I don't know if anybody on this call has a mountain home. If you do, invite me. But you can kind of enjoy that mix of, retirement life, but then also enjoying making some more income. So, and contributing to some cool things. So thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Any final comments? We're going to go ahead and close us out, but do want to just thank you all again for being here, for coming. We are so excited that it looks like, I know Byron already joined Slack. Garrett says he's gonna. So we got to get Mike on there as well. So we are just excited to continue engaging with all of you and helping you on this journey, whatever, it looks like for you. So please reach out to us via Slack or email, or through the website. If you go on there, it pops up. It is actually me that gets those messages. So I'm happy to answer any questions there if that's easiest, but we hope you'll join us for the next info session or next course that we offer. We have a really cool event coming up next week on the 20th, right, Morgan? You want to pitch that real quick before we hop off?
Sure. So that is that Ask a Developer series that we talked about. So we're going to have Colin, what is Colin's last name? Colin of Crumware, who is the CEO and Chief Technology Officer of Crumware, which is in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. So he'll be hopping on our Instagram live, and we're looking forward to chatting with him and getting any of your questions answered. So if you have an Instagram, I think you can also look at it on the browser as well, but feel free to join us over there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Morgan. All righty. Well, again, thank you all for coming, and we look forward to keeping in touch, and we hope everyone has a lovely evening.
See you, everyone.
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.